So good morning here on a Saturday, some weeks before Christmas, to the Zenzino family here. Now, we are on every Saturday because we know that the knowledge here is what grows our business. And this week, I am excited because every time he is on here, I have pages and pages of notes, and I learn so much each and every time. Also, not only because of the years of experience and the wisdom, but the vision he has on what he wants to accomplish with Zenzino and the North American group that he is leading the way. And we have had incredible growth because we're following him. So every time we have such an incredible training, so let's bring him on here. The president of North American operations, Mr. Art Jonak. Hey, Art.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. It's getting ready for Christmas, which kind of brings in this spirit of family and fun. And so it's really fun to be on with the Zenzino family each week. And I'm so grateful that you're on because I know we've got a wonderful training in store for today. So what do you got on your
plate? We do, and I'm going to start off with a balanced shot, right, to your health. See, now how easy is that, right? Just one shot, and you're doing one of the most important things you can possibly do for your health, which is get yourself into balance and then stay in balance. I don't know how they can make it any easier, right? I mean, it's just so simple to do. You just have to have the discipline to do it. Carla, I was on Facebook a little bit earlier, and I saw a post by our friend, Patrick Nielsen, right? Patrick's been doing amazing. He is on the founders trip in the Maldives, which for those of you that don't know where the Maldives are, it is amazing. If you've ever seen the little homes, the little hotel rooms that are on the stilts in the middle of the water. Marco Pastanante was sharing a photo or a video where when he was sitting on the toilet. He wasn't sitting on the toilet in the video, but he showed that if you were sitting on the toilet, right under the toilet was a see-through glass so that you can see the fish, right? I mean, how amazing is that? And here's the cool thing is anybody can go on that trip, right? And if you had a chance to follow some of the leaders who went and did what they needed to do, which is go sponsor people into their business. So not only did they sponsor people into the business, they benefited from their business growing by doing that activity. And they get to go to the Maldives with Orion and Hilda Sala, the co-founders of Zenzino. Doug Peterson, I saw him over there as well. And Patrick Nielsen posted this really cool thing, Carla. He said, so I'm here in the Maldives, I'm hanging out and I'm having breakfast and everything is paid for. And there's this gentleman from London, England. And he comes up to me and he says, I see a group of excited, forward-looking people that can't wait to take on 2023, kind of opposite of what's happening in the world. And he says, and they all have these shirts and they're all clearly part of a group. He says, tell me more about it, because he was wearing his swag, right? And Patrick said, well, our company rewards us with this trip. And the guy's face dropped. He said, what? Your company sends you here to the Maldives? This is my vacation of a lifetime, and they're sending you all here? And Patrick's like, yeah, that's what they do. It's incredible. And then at that moment, Doug Peterson happened to walk by, and he said, hey, let me introduce you to the CEO. I was like, how perfect is that? And Doug's there talking to him, and the guy turns to Doug and he says, Doug, as the CEO, it's amazing that you're sending so many people to the Maldives to enjoy a vacation here. And Doug says, well, if it was my thing, I wouldn't do it. But the founders are here, and the founders see things slightly differently. And of course, Doug was joking a little bit because he's the CEO, right now in a wartime CEO mode of keeping things profitable and so forth. But of course, Orion and Hilda covered that entire trip, Carla, from their Zenzino commission check, right? That trip isn't covered by Zenzino corporate. That's covered from their commission check. And as those of you that may or may not know, Orion and Hilda, the only payment they get from Zenzino is the business that they build as partners in the field. Of course, they have shares in the company because they founded the company, but they don't get a check from the company. And this entire, founders trip is paid for by them. And I want you to just put yourself in that mindset. Like, what happens when we go to $1 billion in sales, right? There's going to be a lot of people that have the income that Oren and Yilda have. That means that there's going to be a lot of people, maybe you included, whoever's watching, that may be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take my team of top leaders and we're going to go to St. John's, or we're going to go to St. Thomas, or we're going to go to the British Virgin Islands, and I'm going to pay for all of it. Mindset shift, right? Like, boom, holy moly. And so to see these stories coming out of there and to recognize that it's not based on your rank to get there, it's based on your production, your personal production of sponsoring people into the business. And what are you doing when you sponsor people into the business? You're giving them the opportunity to go break the zero, right? You're giving them the opportunity to change their life. And so it's super inspiring. And we can either look at that and go, oh, they're so lucky, and be envious. Or we can look at that and look at it as an inspiration. And I would say use it as inspiration, because the next trip's going to be amazing. So Carla, I'm going to open with that.
Actually, Art, I've been watching the same videos and the stories from everybody there. And in some ways, I kind of had that. Oh, it's almost painful to watch. Actually, part of it is because, it's on a blur. But actually, one of the things on my dream board is exactly the pictures I'm seeing from there. So
yes,
I so want to go there. And I think anybody who has seen it, they're like the paradise pictures. And you see the little videos of people, and they're all in awe just being there, and they're experiencing it. And we all can do it. And it's actually, like you said, we're just doing the work, and it's win-win. We get that. And for doing the work, and you're building your business, everybody could be doing this. Absolutely everybody. Yeah. I didn't know that. I did not even know that it's out of Orion and Hilda's paycheck. That just gives me even more respect for the heart of Zenzino, of how they want us to win, and they want to, and bring the leaders that are doing the work and compensate them out of their own check. Who does that, Art? Do you know any other?
Who does that? Exactly.
Does that happen?
Who does that? And maybe I shared something I wasn't supposed to, I don't know, but I was so inspired by it, right? And here's the thing, there's a guy named Charlie Munger, and he has a quote that says, the world is not driven by greed, because a lot of people go, greed, greed, greed. It's driven by envy. And it's an interesting quote, right? Because it's one of those deeper quotes. And I would say that if you feel a slight tinge of envy and say, oh, I wish it was me, use it as inspiration, right? Use it as the inspiration, because there are very few companies that I'm aware of where something like this exists. And I don't think in 2023, there's going to be a lot of trips for corporate America. For their top representatives, they're going to get a gift card, right? I mean, they're not going to be able to go on a director trip that's coming up, right? To Mexico. They're not going to be able to go on a founder's trip. They're not going to be able to go to an international event in Stockholm, surrounded by so many dreamers and doers, right? It's just an amazing environment. So today's topic, Carla, it's a good one. It's a masterclass, right? We're going to have a masterclass. I got up early this morning. I said, hey, what are some of the things that we need to pour into the organization, North America and globally? And so some of this is based on what's been going on over the last 60 days, right? So we've had amazing growth. The company is growing. If you read the quarterly reports, it's fantastic. It's growing in Europe. It's growing in North America. The United States is the fastest growing market. But we've got a long way to go, right? We're not going to sit on our laurels. And in that, there's always the ability to move to the next rank, right? And sometimes what holds us back from the next rank is between our ears, right? It's our thinking, it's our thought patterns, is how do we develop leaders inside the organization? How do we handle conflict that may show up? And that's the thing. That the more people we have in our organization, there's going to be conflict. Don't look at conflict as, oh no, this is going to derail me. Look at conflict as, great, I've got a growing organization. Conflict is expected, and I'm going to become so much better and stronger for being able to handle the conflict. I know Oren sent me a message this morning, and he did over 40 one-on-one coaching classes in the Maldives. 40, like imagine 40, right? So how good has he gotten at this? Incredible. And I'm sure Hilda's doing this, the same. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to share the content here. And we're going to start this masterclass. And the topic of the masterclass is accomplishing great things. accomplishing great things. How many of you want to accomplish great things, right? Show of hands. Of course. And we all have a different definition of what great things might be. So let's look at, what are some of the questions that people ask themselves who have accomplished or are accomplishing great things. And inside of this, Carla, I'm going to also do a deeper dive into a section about giving feedback, because giving feedback is hard. So we're going to go through 6 questions that you should ask yourself about yourself if you want to accomplish great things in life. And great things can be different for every single person on this call. Obviously, they are. Some of them may be income related, some may be health related, some may be relationship related, some of them may be an intersection of all those things. But here are some of the questions that I've seen. Okay, so we're going to share that. And inside of this, towards the end, we're going to do a deep dive into giving feedback, specific, actionable steps on how to turn this process of being worried about giving feedback or even accepting feedback into something that's empowering. Okay, so that's the lineup for today. So number 1, 6 questions. So question number 1, Carla, you ready?
I'm ready. Got my notes
You're
ready.
ready to take notes.
I am.
All right, so we're circling back on the first question to our last masterclass that you and I had here on Saturday. So I'm going to start there and then we're going to go deeper. Okay, so number 1, can I make a promise to myself and keep it? Now, that's powerful, right? I am the truth. What I mean by that on the left-hand side is only you know, right? You can tell other people you do or you don't. They don't know, but you know. So this is a very personal question. And doing difficult things is the premise. Doing difficult things often takes time. And very rarely is the path to success smooth and easy, right? If you need to get back into shape, it's going to take time. It's a difficult thing. We know the action steps, but it's going to take time. It's not going to be smooth. You're going to miss some days, right? You're going to have to start eating slightly differently. You're going to have to start taking your balance shot, take your health protocol, right? If you want to go break the zero, hey, you know what? The reason breaking the zero is difficult is because it's so amazing, right? And everybody would have it if it was easy. But can you go break the zero with Zinzino and create $100 a month income? A $200 break the zero check, $1,000 break the zero check, a $10,000 break the zero check, $100,000 a month break the zero check. People are doing that inside Zinzino. Is that easy? No. But here's the thing. Quitting is a learned skill. Now, this is my belief that we learn to quit. We're not inherently given this feeling of quitting. It's actually the opposite. You look at a child that's learning to walk, crawl. It's in our nature to not quit. It's in our nature to continue on. We've learned to quit. So we have to ask ourselves, how sacrosanct, that's a big word, I know, but it was the appropriate word, which is how sacred, basically, is a promise once I make it, especially to ourselves. So last time we talked a little bit about grit. So let's revisit that. We have to learn when to grit it and when to quit it, right? Grit is perseverance, is when we're pushing or, digging deeper. And my definition of grit is this. It's vision, a vision of a future state that one desperately wants to become real. So what's your vision of your health? What's your vision of your fitness? What's your vision of your personal relationships? What's your vision of your relationships with your children, with your mom, with your spouse? What's your vision of your relationship for your business? What's your vision for your financial future? What's your vision for your income future? What's your vision for your break to zero future? What's your vision for how many people you want to go help in this world? What's your vision, right? So that's number 1. We've got to be able to cast that vision. And then if possible, share it with others. And then the second part of grit, right? It's not just vision. The second part is control. So it's vision plus control. And control is an unwavering belief that you can take the actions that will result in the vision materializing, in the vision becoming real. And here's the thing, is that most people get upset when sometimes I'll say, hey, most of the problems in your life are self-created. Now, that's a hard thing to accept. Like, oh, come on, that's not fair. Well, the reality is that's the truth, right? It's the truth for me. It's the truth for Carla. It's the truth for all of us. Most of our problems are self-created. What also is true is that we can accomplish amazing things in a year, in 2 years. And most of the information is already out there. Most of the information not only out there, you already know what you need to do to become healthier on your eating habits. You already know what you need to do to get healthier on your strength, right? You got to do some strength training. You got to do some aerobics exercise a couple times a week. We know what it is. We just have to create this unwavering belief that the actions you'll take will result in that vision becoming real. You have to have an unwavering belief that if you follow the steps, if you start to create customers and enroll partners into the business and develop some of them into leaders, that break the zero check is going to be there on the other side of that. And how do you develop that belief? Look at other people who have done it, right? Look at other people who have done it. Say, if they did, I can do it. And they're teaching us how to do it. That's why Carla has these calls every Saturday, is to have people come on these calls and share some of the insights on how to exactly do that. These are best practices. So grit equals vision plus control. So to accomplish great things in life, we have to have grit, and we've got to be willing to put in the sustained and relentless effort, right? We've got to be willing to put in that slight edge discipline. Discipline equals freedom. And shortcuts don't exist. I would say the only shortcut that I am aware of, financially, it would be break the zero, right? If you can break the zero, get a break the zero check, and then learn to start doubling it, that is a shortcut to financial success. However, you still got to go work and build it, right? And let's just accept that adversity is part of the journey. That's grit, right? And here's the mirror test. Like, what is the test to determine if I have grit? And here it is. At least at this point in time, my iteration version of it is, do I have a history of breaking promises to myself? Do I have a history of breaking promises to myself? I'm not asking for perfection. None of us are perfect. Did I miss a workout yesterday? I did. I missed a workout yesterday. Did I beat myself over it? No. Am I going to miss a workout today? No, I'm not. Don't miss it 2 days in a row, right? Like, that's sacrosanct. But I'm not going to beat myself up on it. But did I break my promise that I would yesterday? I did. So what's the history? Am I keeping more of my promises, or am I breaking more of my promises? It's really a trend line. So that's number one. Number two, question number two. So number one is, can I make a promise to myself and keep it? Question number two, can I articulate, can I explain clearly the why behind my decisions? Can I tell people why I do what I do? And this is a little bit deep. There's an underrated life skill, and I call it clarity of thinking, right? And if you ever wonder if you have clarity of thinking, then try to write down what you're thinking, right? Writing is a great way to clarify your thinking. And if you're unable to write what you're thinking, then you haven't thought about it clearly enough, and we've got to put some more thinking into it. So if there's a complex question or a difficult question, and it's presented in a number of different ways on different days, would you be able to deliver the same answer and be able to explain the why behind it, right? If somebody were to come to me and said, Art, why do you focus so much on creating a break the zero check in your life and for others? I can explain that very clearly every single time, right? Because I've got clarity of understanding. So in that sense, you know, the number two question is, can I articulate the why behind my decision? The decision is, I'm going to help as many people as I can break the zero, because it's the most powerful form of income there is. So clarity of thinking, it allows you to change your mind when new facts emerge, right? So if we can write down why we think what we think, then it allows us to publicly admit that when we've made an incorrect decision. And is Carla going to make an incorrect decision? Is Art going to make an incorrect decision? Is Doug going to make an incorrect decision? All of us are going to make incorrect decisions at some point, because we're human. But if you can explain the why behind your original decision, and then the what that caused you to change your mind, right, made that decision bad, then we're moving forward, right? That's very high level leadership development. And it allows us to pass what I would call an intelligence test. And here's the thing: changing your beliefs when presented with new information that challenges your existing previously held beliefs, in my opinion, that's a superpower, right? So one of the questions that I ask Carla when I meet people is I'll say, Carla, and I don't expect you to answer this on this call because we're doing a masterclass, but I would say, Carla, what's something that you used to believe was true a year ago, 6 months ago, that you no longer believe is true? And it's a really good question, because if there is no answer, that means the person has stagnated their thinking, or they're not even, willing to be in critical thinking. If you're not changing your mind about anything in 6 months, 12 months, how much thinking are we doing? And then number two, it also shows me how willing somebody is to change their mind, right? Because the ability to change a person's mind based on new information is a sign of intelligence. I'm always annoyed by social media when somebody publicly admits that they changed their mind. And they're like, look, here's where you said this, and now you changed your mind to this, right? It can be a leader, it can be Elon Musk, it can be a politician, doesn't matter. The ability for them to say, I changed my mind, is a sign of intelligence. It's the opposite, that's not sign of intelligence, right? The ability to change your mind without any proof is also very easy. To say, hey, I changed my mind. Why did you change your mind? I don't know, I just changed my mind. Well, that's not good enough either, right? Why did you change your mind? And as we're building organizations inside Zenzino, as we're developing leaders, it's important for us to bring this on as a mindset, right? So that's question number two is, can you articulate the why behind your decisions? Because if you can, then you're going to have the ability to change your mind when new data shows up, and you'll have the ability to explain why. And that's very important. If I'm talking with Doug and we're discussing some things about building the business, and we decide to go in a different direction, there better be a why behind the change of decision. Otherwise, it's just a random decision, and that doesn't serve us or the field. Question number three. You ready, Carla?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Or should I just stop?
No. We want more. We want more.
I'm just kidding. That allowed me to take a sip of water. All right. Question number three. Can you allow someone to play their part in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? In a relationship, in the business, in your health. Can you allow someone to play their part knowing it's not exactly the way you'd play their part? And this is a little tricky, right? To say, hey, I'm building the business, and then the way that you should prospect everybody is X, Y, and Z. So for me, I'm great at conversations, right? So I'm very conversational. But I can't insist that everybody is 100% conversational, right? I've got to allow the leniency to say, hey, I wonder what works for them, and let them lean into it. So can you allow someone to play their part knowing it's not the way you play their part? Because different isn't always wrong. Different isn't always wrong. Well, they're so different from me. Okay, well, maybe that's not a bad thing. Let's find out, right? Let's find out if that's a bad thing or not. There are many things in life that someone else's way of doing it is actually better than your way, because they have different skill sets. They have a different background. They have a different history, right? And internalizing this concept that different isn't always wrong is the key to unlocking leverage. And leverage is key to everything, right? Breaking the zero is leverage. Compounding your health is leverage. Building relationships is leverage. Adding people to your network that you're pouring into is leverage. Well, understanding that not everybody's the same is also a way to unlock leverage. So here's what I've seen is that effective leaders, they define the goals, right? They cast a vision, just like we talked about in grit. And then they work with people capable of hitting those targets. And what I mean by that is that when we get too involved in the details of how people should be doing their business, then your business becomes a cloning factory. And to a certain degree, indirect selling, we want to be able to say, this is a duplication machine, right? We duplicate leadership. If it doesn't duplicate, don't do it. In certain degrees, that's true. But that doesn't mean that we all have to wear the same shirt, that we all have to wear the same tie, or do our hair the same and wear the same uniform. No, we can be ourselves, right? So there's this room where if you're trying to turn each and every team member into you, I can tell you after 25 years of this business, that's not a winning strategy. But it happens all the time. You get somebody that says, hey, I've got to, make everybody be like me. Leaders create leverage by expanding the skills of the team over time. Leaders create leverage by expanding the skills of their team members over time. A great leader can assess the individualities, the strengths of each team member, and create an environment that allows them to grow into a better version of themselves. That's actual leadership, not cloning yourself and creating a bunch of lemmings, right? It's about helping them grow into a better version of themselves. And that creates, just an amazing strength, because if you look at it in a corporate America world, for example, bad managers will tell their employees what to do all the time, but good managers explain why employees need to follow the plans, right? Great managers involve their employees in those critical decisions. And that's really true for us, right? In our business, we are very much a volunteer business. So question number 4. Can you communicate bad news in a way that's transparent and motivational? Carla, you've been in Zinzino a while. You were here when I got here. I've seen you build a business, and I can say without question that you've had some bad news in your Zinzino business, right, over time, or in North America, or in the USA. So if I were to say, Carla, is your business going to grow without any bad news from this point forward? And Carla would say no. Yeah, bad news is going to happen, right? So let's just accept that. There's going to be moments of bad news. There's going to be moments where something goes on back order. There's going to be moments where somebody in your team quits. There's going to be moments where there's a lot of conflict happening. Okay, great. So the question becomes, can we communicate that bad news if it affects the organization? If it's just personal, you don't need to communicate that. But if it's affecting the organization, can you communicate that in a way that's transparent and motivational? Now, how's that for a shift, right? Bad news, motivational, what? How does that work? So here's the thing. Being able to tell the truth, even when it's hard to do so, is an underrated and often overlooked skill. When I see somebody within the organization on the corporate side or the field side be able to tell the truth, be willing to tell the truth, and do it in a way that actually motivates, that's a huge skill set, right? I'm not going to overlook that. I'm going to say, wow, that's amazing. They got that already. Because being able to use bad news to motivate people around you is valuable beyond belief, because it's, part of our business. So here's what I'm finding also is that secure people, and I couldn't find a better word for this. It's not the exact word that I wanted to use, but in the sake of this masterclass from this, putting the notes together this morning, is that secure people know that they're trusted by the people around them. And that adversity, when it pops up, the bad news is just a word. It's just the word. Adversity is just the word. Bad news is just 2 words. They have full belief that there's no problem too big for their team to handle. Complete and solid, full belief that whatever this problem is, we can handle it. I can tell you on the corporate side, between Doug, Orion, and Hilda, when we have a challenge that pops up and the corporate team that's in place, there's nothing that pops up that I'm going to say, oh, that's going to derail the company. Nope. It's just not, because the team is so strong and it just continues to get stronger. So here's the other part, is with transparency comes unity. Why have we had a corporate communication call every single day of the week for the last 2+ years? Because transparency creates belief, right? When we're transparent about the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, all this stuff, then the field says, hey, they're going to tell us when things are great, and they're going to tell us when things aren't great, because it creates unity. There's no rumor mill spreading news about what someone thinks or that they overheard, right? When we have transparency, all that speculation and whispering amongst team members starts to disappear when we have transparency that creates unity. Team members can focus on accomplishing their objectives because they know they're in the flow of news, right? So if there's a chink in the armor, share it, right? It's okay. And then have a plan of how we're going to go accomplish it, and count on your team to rally around it, right? That rallying call is really cool. When adversity comes up, when it arises, here's what happens with a trusting and motivated team. is that they're going to immediately jump into action. Oh, really? That popped up? How can we handle it? How can we go beyond this? How can we fix this? How do we push back against this boulder that's coming down towards us, right? So watching an entire team working to solve challenging problems together is a thing of beauty. And we have that, right? The host has muted me.
Oh, I don't know who did that. Wasn't me.
So playing the blame game is the opposite. And it feels like a swift kick in the head, right? And I know I'm talking big ideas here, but here's the thing. 2023 could be a huge year for Zinzino. It's probably going to be a huge year for Zinzino. That means it's going to be a huge year for many of you. We got to get this thinking right now, at least start thinking about it, so that when the time comes, we're ready, right? So question number 5. Can I grow in public? Can I grow in public, right? What that means is, am I willing to put myself out there? And when I make mistakes, everybody sees it. When I'm not perfect, other people can see it. Can I grow in public by encouraging and internalizing feedback about my own performance? So it's not just when I make mistakes. Am I open to getting that feedback from my team, from my partners, from my sponsor, from the corporate team, when things aren't going perfectly? Am I willing to grow? And I can say that, the greatest leaders, they do this. They're either writing their thoughts in public in blogs, or they're on Zoom calls like this. Carl Larraguss getting better. You look at Elon Musk. One of his quotes. He took over Twitter. He said, "Hey, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, but I'm going to also try my best to fix those mistakes." Right? Why? Because he's willing to grow in public. Take all the arrows of people saying, "Oh, he wasn't perfect," laughing at him. That's not his goal. His goal is to move forward, make mistakes, and fix them when he does, right? Not always guess properly. So can I grow in public? Because, write this one down, feedback fuels your personal growth, right? We call it plan, do, check, and adjust, PDCA. You plan something, you do it, you check it, and then you got to adjust it. Well, that adjustment sometimes comes from feedback from other people. It's hard to just adjust yourself. So for a lot of people, their status creates a barrier that blocks feedback from coming their way, right? They've reached this specific rank, or they're this type of profession, or whatever that may be. It could be an ego status in their mind. But these secure and self-aware people, they go out of their way to create a safe environment that naturally generates feedback, right? Now, does that mean you got to take feedback from everybody? No. Feedback from the people that give you constructive feedback that is coming from the heart. They mean the best when they give you that feedback. They want you to grow, because your growth will help them grow as well, right? Look for those people, what I call true norths. And here's where intention and results matter, right? The intention of giving feedback to help somebody grow matters. The results of them taking that feedback because you gave good feedback also matters. What doesn't matter in this case is your status and your ego, because feedback provides a sense of engagement, and it provides a sense of unity, of purpose, right? Knowing nobody is above feedback, right? Knowing that, I know Orion is not above feedback. Hilda is not above feedback. Doug Bergheim-Peterson, the CEO of the company, is not above feedback. And we've created a great way to communicate, to give feedback to each other. The same is true with other people in the corporate team, right? Michelle Lewis and support, and all the stuff that she does with her team in North America. She's incredible, right? And she's always looking for feedback, and we give each other feedback. She gives me feedback so that I can grow. The same is in the field. Carla and I give each other feedback, right? And I'm just bringing out Carla because she's on the call here, but this with other leaders as well. And we give each other feedback, because knowing nobody is above that feedback helps everybody internalize the mission is more important than any one single person's identity, right? If one person all of a sudden sticks out and says, "I'm above feedback," that all of a sudden makes them more important than the overall mission, which is get to 100 million people into balance, right? So think about if that's something that's happening to you, or you're starting to spot it yourself, then we got to check that, right? Let's put that back into check. So that's a deeper dive here, right, into giving feedback. Now, this is a hard topic, because sometimes feedback feels wrong. Sometimes feedback is scary. Sometimes feedback feels like conflict. And some of us don't like conflict, right? We're like, well, we're going to do whatever it takes to not create conflict, because if I create conflict, somebody might quit. If I create conflict, somebody's feelings may get hurt. However, if we don't get feedback, how are we growing, right? If we don't get feedback, then the personal growth stops. So here's why. Giving feedback often feels hard because, number one, you've identified a problem, or you think you've identified a problem. You know you need to talk about it, because if this problem doesn't get addressed and fixed, it's going to continue to derail the team or derail the person or derail that relationship. And how long are we willing for that derailment to hinder us from moving forward faster? And you're worried that they're going to get defensive, that if you're going to bring up feedback, that they're going to get defensive. And here's what I can tell you: relax. It'll be okay, right? Because I'm going to share with you a framework to turn that feedback conversation into a win-win, right? Where it's a win-win scenario. Now, is it perfect every time? No. But if you have the framework, it's going to increase the odds of having a win-win scenario come out of it. So here's the framework. Feedback conversations are typically reactive, right? You've been frustrated for a while about this person's behavior, or that person doing this, or whatever that may be. And you see the opportunity to give them the feedback and chance to finally unload on them, right? Now, I can tell you, sometimes we get that unload in customer support, right? Somebody calls, had a bad day, whatever, and they're unloading on Charlene in customer support. And support knows, they've signed up for that, right? Once in a while, there's an unload that happens because there's a feedback conversation that's happening, and it's part of the deal. So sometimes we're going to be on the receiving end of that unload. And as leaders, we got to recognize what's the pattern that's happening here, right? There's a pattern of frustration, but the person receiving the feedback isn't often sure where all the negativity is coming from, right? They've been doing their stuff. They're getting ready for Christmas. They got their kids, guys, and all of a sudden, bam, they get hit with this feedback, this unload, and they're often hurt. They can be confused. They can be defensive. And instead of embracing your feedback, they see it as an attack. And then you worry about the retaliation because now things are awkward, right? They feel like it's an attack, so they feel like they might have to counterattack. And then we're like, hey, no wonder everybody's staying silent. But we don't want that. We don't want silence, right? We want to have plan, do, check, and adjust with feedback. So here's the better way. I call it the strategy versus self-expression framework. Now, there may be better words for this, I don't know, but I like alliteration, so they both start with the letter S. So strategy versus self-expression. And here's how it works. Strategy is anything that contributes to potential behavior change. So you're actually giving feedback with the hope that there's a change in behavior. Self-expression is everything else that you should not say in that feedback case, right? When you're doing the feedback. So strategy is anything that contributes to a behavior change. Self-expression is everything else. So feedback conversations should be about strategy and not self-expression. For example, every feedback conversation is actually a sales conversation. And the prize of the sale is a behavior change, right? And it's a positive behavior change, not that we're telling people how to behave. We see a place where we can be better, whatever that better looks like. I'm always open to getting positive behavior change feedback. So your feedback is a mechanism to change the person's future actions. So I can tell you, I've got a house full of girls. There are 3 daughters, the wife, grandma shows up. And one of the things I had to learn as a behavior change was from my wife, Ann. And she was really good about this. She said, hey, sometimes when the daughters or I, she's talking to me, I share some things. We don't need you to immediately try to fix it. Just hear it, right? And just listen. And sometimes just give a hug. But you don't need to just immediately fix things, because my tendency was to just fix it. Like, I'm a fixer, right? I'm like, all right, let's fix this. So I had to learn that behavior change of listening, acknowledging, giving a hug when appropriate, which most of the time it is, and then not feeling I needed to fix it right away, just be heard, right? It's a behavior change. So it's the bridge from how we are behaving to how we prefer that somebody is behaving, right? How they are behaving to how we prefer that they behave. And Self-expression, on the other hand, is counterproductive, right? When we're self-expressing, what we're doing is we're venting our frustration, right? It builds up, it builds up and builds up, and all of a sudden, the sibling yells at the other sibling, or they get frustrated, and that leads to the other person retaliating, and then they start hitting each other. And we have a rule in the house: no hitting, and it escalates, right? So there's frustration that happens. Or they're trying to teach someone a lesson, right? I'm going to teach them a lesson. Or they're trying to prove that they're right. I'm right, that person's wrong, and I'm going to show them. Well, that's all self-expression. That doesn't really work very well in trying to give feedback. So 90% of what you want to say off the top of your head is probably self-expression, because most of that is just emotion. Self-expression is why most feedback conversations fail. And self-expression, I don't mean that in the sense of an artist expressing their art. I mean, self-expression is all that emotion that you're feeling that comes with feedback. And after all, you've been annoyed with this person for a while now, right? You want them to know how they made your life harder. And it's common to unload when you have this pent-up bitterness on top of it, right? And you feel it towards them. And this has the opposite effect of what we want as we're building an organization, as we're building relationships. So here's the other side of it. The strategy is productive, right? What I call strategy. And again, there may be a better word for it, but that's where I am right now. Strategy means only saying things that lead to positive behavior change. So when we're doing the feedback loop, when we're doing the feedback conversation, hone in on the things that create a positive behavior change. Drop all that other stuff. And then the person receiving the feedback, here's what happens. They're likely to be more eager to improve, right? They're going to be more motivated to make the behavior change because it'll serve them more. I was more motivated to not try to fix right away and maybe give a hug because it created much better results for me and a much better family environment. And number three, they're excited to work with you, right? That's what we want to have happen, where they're excited to continue to work with you. So before I speak, here's what I ask myself, write it down. Is this strategy or is this self-expression, right? Is this strategy where I'm trying to help improve behaviors, mine and theirs? Or is this self-expression where I'm venting my emotions? And whenever I deviate from this strategy, I often regret it, right? I often find myself going, oh no, I let my emotions get the best of me. And does it happen? Yes, it still happens because our emotions are powerful, right? That can still bubble up. It can still show up. And then I go, kick myself. I shouldn't have done that. And I recognize it. I apologize for it. And then I continue to try to be better. So it's not about perfection. It's just understanding how this works, this framework. And here are the 3 steps to help you prioritize strategy. Okay. So taking those, what do we do? Number 1, mentally forgive the person. Now, this sounds maybe a little bit strange, but mentally forgive the person. I don't know, Carla, you've been down this path, right? You've done a deep masterclass personally into mentally forgiving somebody or people in your life. And so you've got to mentally forgive the person. And I'm going to say very, very distinctly, this part is important. Don't skip it. Don't skip step 1, mentally forgive the person. No, I'm going to skip that and go to step 2. Don't do that. Because if you're filled with resentment, if you're filled with anger towards that person, it will boil over in that conversation. It won't take much to throw you off when you're trying to be strategic. Maybe they're going to make a passive aggressive comment. Boom, off we go. Maybe they do a tiny smirk, just with their mouth, or maybe they just raise their eyebrows and cynicism or sarcasm and just throws you off, right? Just these little things. So don't risk that letting derail you. Get the frustration out of your system before you walk into the room, before you sit down for lunch with them, before you have that FaceTime or Zoom call. And if needed, talk to your spouse and say, hey, I'm about to have this conversation. I want to have this feedback conversation with this person. But they've really, I'm still upset about this and this. Talk to your spouse. Let them help you get rid of it, right? Let them help you. Maybe your friend, you have a friend that can help you with this. Let them be the ones that can mentally help you forgive that person. Or if needed, you may need a therapist, right? You may have to go hire somebody. If it's a very deep thing, go hire a therapist and say, hey, I need a session and I need to talk through how to mentally forgive this person. Or maybe somebody from your church, find somebody, right? But don't skip this part. especially on the big issues. Smaller issues, you can do this yourself. Bigger issues, you may need somebody. Step number 2, identify what will motivate them to change. Art, man, this is complicated. Yeah, people are complicated. Relationships are complicated. But if we have a framework, we know what we need to do. Really, we're going to put all this work in before we have the feedback conversation? My suggestion to you is yes. Yes, that's what we should be doing. So identify what will motivate them to change. This conversation that you're going to have, this isn't about punishing them for the difficulty they caused you. That's your ego, right? You've already lived through that difficulty. The best thing you can do now is ensure that they do better in the future, right? Or that your relationship together is better for the future. So we've got to let go of that punishment feeling. And the person receiving the feedback can do better if they know what to do, they feel motivated, and they're excited and committed to make the change. And that's why we need to be in our feedback clear, direct, and positive, right? Because this will inspire them to want to change. So we have to reframe how we give feedback, make it very clear, make it very direct, make it very positive, and leave the emotional baggage out of it. And this often means giving the benefit of the doubt to that person, especially when you don't feel like the person deserves it. Ooh, that's hard. I get it. I know it's hard. But at some point, somebody's got to be the adult in the room, right? So that's, kind of the difficult part, but that also moves your ego aside. So example, feedback before could be, well, why did you do that, Carla? Well, that was pretty stupid, Bob. Well, it embarrassed me and the whole company when you did that, Jim. Your mistake caused this, XYZ damage, and why trouble, right? It did this to that person. It did this to that. It did this volume. We lost that credit. We did whatever, right? That's what it sounds like before. After we use this framework, it can sound like this. Hey, I totally get why you did that. Now, you might have thought X or Y, but in the future, a better way to handle if something like this comes up is this, Z, right? Here's how to do it. It's a bummer, but I'm also glad this happened because it's a great learning experience for all of us. Whoa, different, right? And over time, you're going to get better and better at this. Here's the third step. Once we do that, is say only the 10% that will actually change behavior. Say only 10% that will change the behavior. What do I mean by that? Is depending on the size of the feedback and the situation, brainstorm or write out what you want to say. Now, you don't have to write it out word for word, but write the bullet points, right? Just bullet points. And then trim about 90% of your original script, right? If you write it down, you're going to look at it and you can probably get rid of 90% of the emotional stuff that you're going to put into it and just narrow it down to the 10% that matters. And if you're honest with yourself, most of what was written down is probably falls in the category of self-expression. So in other words, we need to help persuade them to change. Why and how? Well, number one, what's the upside for them? Number two, why will it benefit them to change? And number three, how will it get them closer to their goals? And notice in these questions, the word them is in there every single time, because it's not about you. It's about helping them. And this kind of a feedback process, you don't focus on why their behavior change helps you. We focus on why changing helps them. And Carla, this framework has worked well for me. Now, this is where I am today. I'm open to feedback, right? I'm open to making this different, better. And maybe a year from now, we're going to tweak this. But I did want to share this with you today, and not specifically just you, Carla, with all the viewers and the people that are watching on the replay on Facebook and the Facebook group, and use this as a masterclass for when conflict shows up or you need to do feedback. Come and watch this, right? And create the framework before giving the feedback. And if we do that 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 5,000 times within an organization, the organization is going to thrive, absolutely thrive. It's just one of those subtle leadership principles that can help you move up in rank, right? If you're stuck at diamond, if you're stuck at crown, I'm stuck at royal crown, I can't get past royal crown. Well, you know what? Maybe this is the thing that needs to be taken care of. Maybe this is the thing that gets you to black crown, right? Maybe. So to summarize, just on this deeper dive on feedback, remember that the feedback conversations are about strategy, not self-expression. Strategy, meaning let's go for behavior change, not self-expression, which is all the emotional baggage that comes with it. The goal is the behavior change. Focus solely on getting closer to the behavior you want to see, right? If you hone in on that, good things happen. And Carla, we're down to our sixth question. Should we skip it or should we finish this hour up in the sixth question?
You know, I was just counting out, going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is my 6? So I'm ready, Art.
Okay, so number 1 was, can you make a promise to yourself and keep it?
Mhm.
Number 2, can you articulate the why behind your decisions? And the reason for that is because that allows you to change your mind. And if you do change your mind, it allows you to share why you change your mind, both critical to personal development. Question number 3, can you allow someone to do and play their role knowing that it's not the way you would do their role, right? Are you allowing for people to shine at what they do? Question number 4, can you communicate bad news in a way that's transparent and motivational? Number 5, can you grow in public by encouraging and internalizing feedback about your own performance? And then we did a deep dive onto how to give feedback, which means that you should also be able to be open to receiving feedback in that framework. And finally, question number 6 for accomplishing great things is this. Can I step into a servant's role when needed? Right? Can I step into a servant's role when needed? Am I willing to step out of my existing role, out of my ego, and step into a servant's role when it's necessary? And the analogy for this, Carla, that I like, and that I've been using for a long time, is there are moments in time in your business where you need to be the lead actor, right? And I say actor, it's male or female. That's the definition of actor these days. So not actress, apparently. So lead actor or actress. That means that you're now on your way and you say, hey, I've got to get to executive. And now you're the lead actor. Getting to executive, you're the lead role because you're going to be showing your team that you can get to executive and they can do it too, right? Lead actor, or maybe it's to diamond, or maybe it's to crown. And at some points, then you got to be the best supporting actor. Hey, now I need to help them get to executive, right? So you step out from your part and you move into helping them. And being able to switch back and forth between lead actor and best supporting actor is really important, because there are times where you need to be the lead actor. You need to be taking charge. You need to be showing the way. And then there are times when you need to step into the best supporting actor role. And I love what Marco shared with you a couple of weeks ago, Carla, when you did this this call with him on the Zoom. He said, hey, my job is to work my way out of a job when I sponsor new people over time. But when I first sponsor them, my job is to work my way into a job, right? Is to help them. Switching back and forth, right? And I thought that was really powerful. So removing our ego is often key to successfully helping others. It's often difficult, especially for alpha type personalities, like very driven personalities, myself included. I'm an alpha, I'm what we call a red personality. It's difficult for us to internalize the concept that helping others succeed is a powerful way to get things done. Because when you look at great things in the world that have happened, and you read the books and biographies, nothing great was accomplished. And that's an absolute, but really nothing great was accomplished by one individual. It was always a team. So for those of us that are red personalities, alpha driven, for those of us that want big goals, that are other personalities, understand in order to achieve those really big goals, you've got to be able to help other people. It just doesn't work any other way. So helping others succeed is prioritizing their needs over your own in the appropriate time. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and try to break the zero as big as you can. Of course you should. But there are moments in time where you got to say, okay, if I do this, it'll help me grow my break the zero check this month. But if I do this for them long term, it's not only going to help them, but I'm going to also grow my check long term, right? So there are these trade-offs that you're going to do. So when we're acquiring resources or we're breaking down barriers for your team, do it as a servant, right? When you help others succeed by prioritizing their needs over your own, you're building an enthusiastic team of supporters, right? And a team is louder and has more power than any individual, right? Just take that to the bank. great things are not accomplished by single individuals. Individuals help cast the vision, they help lead, but it requires a team. So to summarize, Carla, as we hit almost exactly on the dot for an hour, man, talk about planning. These 6 questions aren't meant to be a complete checklist of greatness, right? It's just 6 questions. They're a common set of skills that many successful people have. And what is required is honest answers to these questions, right? Because that creates a healthy amount of self-awareness. And it allows us to stare into the mirror and say, hey, where can I get better? And then in the middle of that, we also talked about grit. And we talked about how to give feedback, and then by default, how to receive feedback. So Carla, thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Wonderful. Absolutely love it. Art, I take so many notes, and every time you are speaking here, and I can see all the comments of all this, but I really think, you were talking about, because when you have struggles and you're going to have struggles. And to me, with all the struggles that people have been through, and including myself, I know that it's through the struggles that really develop that perseverance, and perseverance is developing that character. And character is what's really building that hope. And yes. I think it is powerful what you just went through. Absolutely love it. Thank you,
Carla. That's a beautiful summary, and really, it shows that you've been through you're going through the leadership journey. For you to be able to say what you just shared, and if you're watching the replay, go backwards and listen to what Carla said again. That's coming from personal experience of having gone through the challenges and the positives, right? I mean, Carla's team is doing amazing things. The upsides, the downsides, and the character is being developed, and the skills that you have. So Carla, thanks for having me. And again, I don't expect everybody to have learned all this at once. The beauty of this is Carla records it. She puts it in the Teams and Xeno North America Facebook group. You go over there and bookmark that, or however you want to, and you can go back and listen over and over and over again. Not just you, Carla, I'm talking about everybody else. I'm probably going to go back and say, what was it that I said 6 months ago about giving feedback? I better go listen to myself talk, which is typically hard, but hopefully this serves, and hopefully this becomes an evergreen training that we can use with brand new people, and that we can go back and reference ourselves as well. So Carla, thank you for your leadership. Thank you to everybody who joined here. Wow, we've got a lot of people. I just looked up at the participants number. I see Dave's here with us. I see Cash is with us. I appreciate all of you. I think we're doing amazing things. We're missionaries. We have a lot to do. But every day I talk to people, and what Xeno is doing for people is just extraordinary on the health side and on the financial side. So let's go tell more people. Let's not keep it a secret.
And learning each time and following you, Art. Thank you so much. I'm going to unmute everybody. And I would encourage everybody to put in the comments one of your best takeaways from this. There were so many, but
in the Facebook group. Yeah. Do it in the Facebook group.
Yes.
Not on Zoom, because that'll be gone. But if you go to the Facebook link, just put in the comments. And Carla's right. If you put in the comments a takeaway, then more people are going to want to listen to the training, right? If there's 50, 60, 70 comments, people are going to say, oh, there must be something good in this training. So put comments in there. And then, of course, many of you are amazing at tagging your team, right? You tag your team in the comments as well. Going to do wonders for your organization, the more people that listen.
Let's each grow this. It's not about us. It's building that team. And this was perfect for it. Thank you so much, Art, for the time that you spend on this. And thanks everybody for joining. Have a great weekend, everyone, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Carla. Thank you, Art.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thank
Carla.
you. Bye.